Hello, I was lucky enough to run into my good friends Tim Harwood and Chris Wachowski, the authors of the recently published Eagles to Glory Napoleonic rule set. They agreed to sit down and talk about those rules with us. Hello guys, and thank you for sitting down with me today to discuss Eagles to Glory. Let's start by introducing yourselves. Chris, if you would like to start us off, please.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, as the case may be. It depends on where you are at. My name's Chris, and I am one of the co-authors of Eagles to Glory that was just released here via Amazon, a month ago, 6 weeks ago.
I'm Tim Harwood, and joined up with Chris. I played his rules in earlier versions, played with Nick, his son, as well, but earlier this year we decided to work on a collaboration to reinvent, reinvigorate, and try something a little different with Eagles to Glory.
So what inspired you to write these rules, and what was the process in getting there?
I was looking for a better solution, right? Because I found the Napoleonic rules that were available I had a headache after playing 3 or 4 hours, trying to work through all the math, all the column shifts, right? So I started with some empire, battles for empire, Napoleon's battles, right? So a lot of these earlier rules just very complicated, and I was looking for something I wanted something grand tactical because I felt that the maneuver part of the game was a big part of Napoleonics, right? Getting to the battlefield with the right amount of troops, right, to take advantage of their opponent, right? And so I didn't want just a game that people are just going to clash, butt heads. I wanted that ability to be able to maneuver, right? To be able, again, grand tactical, but I wanted to keep it simple, right? So that you could pick it up quickly. So the rules are very simple, but they are not simplistic. Yeah. There's a lot of subtleties.
Took away my line.
Oh, I'm sorry. I stole it from...
That's all I was going to say.
See, Tim, he had shared that, and I thought it was really so good, so I've adopted it now, so yeah, it's in my repertoire. But
yeah, I thought, I've been playing Napoleonics for the best part of 50 years as well, and gone through all the various things. Always wanted to have that chance to have the square, the line, the column, the attack column. Then I realized it's really not that important to play for the game. And going down to the Grand Tactical, where you're looking more at the division and the core level, just hit a sweet spot, and also, again, simplify things to the point where you can play a good game, get a result. And I think a lot of the trends, we're also getting a lot older, even though which means, again, we want things that will play out because our time is limited. We may not have a 4-hour game session anymore, but again, we want to get a result and not be overburdened with rules and too many fingers up and down and all that kind of thing with some other game systems that we've both played. And yeah, simple is fun.
So how have you balanced fun with historical accuracy?
Well, balancing fun with historical, the concept obviously is the game can be played with organized set battles from historical things with correct OBs. So you've got that already offset from the historical point. How you then play it becomes your own choice. There is obviously the random factor of dice, which keeps it fun. There's the camaraderie across the table. And it's about, again, gaming is more about having fun than it's about it's about winning.
So having said that, is the game focused on realism or playability?
Both. It's subtle, but it's both. I'm a real big believer that there's a key in terms of ground scale, right? So an inch equals 100 yards or whichever of the 3 scales that we were presenting, but that becomes very important as it relates to how far a unit can move in a given turn of 20 minutes, right? So there's that underlying, when I lay out a battlefield, I want to know that, okay, it's actually a mile from here to here, right? So that historical part, there's that underlying piece that has to be accurate, but to keep the game fairly simple makes it playable and makes it fun. So I think it's really a marriage of both, right?
Yeah.
So did a lot of research in terms of how far can a battery fire, right? Looking at a number of resources, and same thing with movement rates, and so there's a lot that went into getting the numbers, but keeping it simple so that you can play.
So the games I've played so far of Eagles to Glory have been either on the Danube in 1809 or Quatre Bras in 1815. Do you have a favourite battle in the Napoleonic period you'd like to tell us about?
I think probably the one that fascinates me the most is Aspern-Eisling, right? And it's partly because it's really Napoleon's first loss. But the challenges of getting across the river, right, and really going up against it's a fascinating 2 days, right? And then little things like Linné got killed, right? So there's some fascinating pieces to that.
How about you, Tim? What's your favourite?
I grew up on the Waterloo campaign, as most Napoleonic gamers are, but I think some of the Spanish Peninsula, Talavera's always impressed me as an interesting game to play. Did a great one at Historicon a number of years ago with 28 millimeter. The French absolutely crushed the British with a great battle plan, and it worked.
That's not very realistic.
That's the point. We're rewriting the history. It's based on that. And also, I like Albuera as well as an interesting set battle from the peninsula.
In writing the rules, how have you handled the differences between the nation's armies for the period?
We look at it as a command structure. So the French and the British typically had a much better command structure. Rather than sending out ADCs with orders and all these things, they have a greater command range, which allows them to keep the units in command control. And then within that, they may have slightly better morale or skirmish capabilities. So those elements are built in, and it's all encapsulated into both an initiative, so who gets the initiative, but then each division working as an element. They then maneuver as a division, but individual units have their own characteristics within each division.
So who is the game's target audience? Do they need to have experienced wargaming or any knowledge of the Napoleonic period?
I don't think they really do. It helps, right? Because it adds an understanding of what units can do or should be able to do. So it does help, but it's not required, right? I know a lot of people have always shied away from Napoleonics because it looks hard, and it doesn't have to be, right? And so that's part of who we're trying to appeal to is, I want to be able to marshal an army across the field, right? Those sweeping cavalry charges, right? Yeah. The reserves coming up and over the hill, right? So we want to be able to present that fairly simply. So I think that grognard, that person that really is entrenched in Napoleonics, will appreciate a lot of the little subtleties of the game. But for a novice that's just always been interested in wanting to dip their toe in that pool, it's a great opportunity.
It's a good start system, and the games that we've been playing here at the convention at Twisted Lords, there have been a number of players that have not seen the rules, not played them, or they may have got them just recently. Every one of them has been able to pick up the game, and almost without exception, we haven't needed to refer anyone to the rule book or go back and have a rules question. If we come up with something, we look at then the logical outcome of the step to it. We had an example today where one division routed, and we couldn't, without going back to the rule book, admittedly, even us, can they continue must they continue to route, or do they stop? Now, what would happen? If a unit's routing, in logic, they're going to keep routing. So you can't just not give them an order to stand still and hope for the best, because you also got the same opportunity. That division could rally and actually come back and form a rear guard, or it may not. But the interesting thing is we don't just pick up, hand of God picking up a division that's gone, and then there's a big space on the table, which a lot of games in the Napoleonic period, you get a certain point of morale, the unit's just picked up and gone. And we want to avoid that and make it more feel like a flowing battle, ebb and backwards, ebb and flow, that's the word.
And what size of battle do your rules best work with?
A division and bigger.
I would tend to say probably 2 or 3 divisions up, but you can play with a division. Right. You can also you could break it down at the brigade level. So each of those divisions could be 2 separate brigades, and you could break it that way as well. So yes, you can break it down to a lower level if you wanted to.
But it's really targeted at corps level army, bigger.
So how long does it take to play an average good game of Eagles to Glory?
Well, so here at the convention, last night we played 3 hours, and we came up to a conclusion. Here this morning we played 3 hours again. We came up to a conclusion that's with, 7 divisions on the table. Mm-hmm. So 3 to 4 hours. Now, as you get into bigger games, they are going to take longer, but then it also is going to depend on the level of, once people learn the system, it's really easy for multiple commanders to be doing the same. They can actually do their movement all together. You don't have to wait. So yeah. The game can pick up. So what we find is that a typical turn may take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, right? Which represents 20 minutes of battle time. So, real time. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, and the scenarios, it's being scenario driven. It could be a set number of turns to achieve a victory. It could be a duration that you're playing, or it could be, again, victory points, losses, etc. So it's somewhat scenario driven, but again, a good game to be playable in what we're looking for, 3 to 4 hours is a very good average scenario time.
Do you currently have any plans to release scenario books or other expansions for the rules?
There hasn't been any really discussion to produce like a scenario book. At the moment, we're creating scenarios and putting them out on our Facebook page.
Free on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
So would Eagles to Glory be suitable for tournament play?
Absolutely, it could be done, right? Because one of the keys to the game is that each unit, each stand has a point value. So you can actually assign, you get 400 points, 500 points to start the game, right? Whatever mix you want. And then you play to conclusion. So you could actually do a tiered tournament, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we have not included specific army lists, so you can only do this. There are so many rules out there and rule sets, so people have got a good idea of it. We didn't want to just regurgitate the same information. But equally, if you're a player and you wanted to create a very small elite guard unit and take that as using your points to do that, you can do so playing against a large Landwehr army or raw conscripts and see how it plays out. So you've got that choice without being limited.
So you can limit the army builds to a certain number of points for playability.
You would do it that way and just add up. So an infantry is 20 points for a standard infantry, light cavalry being 80. So you get the point difference on the construction. You lose a light cavalry, you lost 80 points straight off the bat compared with so you watch out to protect the higher value units and use them more historically.
So where do people find you if they have any further questions or comments?
Well, we're on Facebook. Both Chris and I work from our home, and we have Facebook on one of our work screens permanently up there. So if you post on Facebook into our group, you'll get an answer within 30 seconds flat. No, we can be found. We're responsible on there. Our email addresses are in the front page of the rule book as well. We've got about nearly 260 members in our active Facebook group. We're getting questions. We're also encouraging people to post their own scenarios and own ideas and playbacks, after action reports. And we would love to get some reviews from buyers of the rules or people that have played with it. It's on Amazon, which would be really nice to get some reviews on Amazon. We've got 3 currently. I would have to say they're unfortunately only 5-star. We're looking for some 6-star reviews, but or on the Facebook group.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up for the day?
Well, probably the other thing just to note is we also have a YouTube channel, right? Eagles to Glory.
Where we're posting tutorial videos to begin with, and we'll start adding some after actions and other things as the game becomes more known and there's less questions maybe, although with new players. There are also Q&A sheet posted in the files section, so as people who ask questions, we're trying to tabulate those and keep a record of them so people can refer to that.
I think really the key is just to have fun with the game. Yeah. It's about having fun.
Well, it is all about having fun. Well, thanks very much, guys, for sitting down. I certainly appreciate the time it's taken us to get through this. and I look forward to playing many more games of Eagles to Glory with you both.
Paul, thank you.
Paul. Thank you. And good luck also with Amid the Chaos.
And so,
Our next published, previous published author, but Paul has written a great set of rules which cover from about 3000 BC to about 1900. And if you're looking for something on a very different level and scale, it's a great system to look at.
There is a link to the Eagles to Glory Facebook page and their YouTube channel in the description below.